Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is a Raw recap. Let's jump right into it with the negatives of the night. First up, the tag team match with Ryback and Randy Orton versus Sheamus and The Big Show. Kind of felt out of place, kind of felt boring to me. Ryback's show and Miz's feud itself has been very boring. Sheamus, since he's come back, has been especially boring. Randy Orton's one of my favorite wrestlers. However, I don't care about him in a feud with Sheamus. Ryback did do some impressive stuff, new moves he broke out, a little bit of high flying added, but to me this just felt like we got two feuds, let's put them together and fill some time kind of match. And to me it was boring and predictable. The faces win, Ryback and Orton. I don't know, just a predictable, boring match in my opinion. Now next up is one I really didn't want to put on here. And it's not actually for the match itself. The match itself was pretty good. It's how the WWE played this. Now it's Neville versus Stardust. First, I have two issues with this. First, I'll go with the smaller of the two issues. Neville cannot keep losing. You take away how special of a competitor he is by him losing all the time. Rey Mysterio didn't lose all the time. Rob Van Dam didn't lose all the time. Chris Jericho didn't lose all the time. These are his contemporaries. These are the guys he's to be compared with. That's the kind of style he brings. However, for whatever reason, he's always losing. Now, Stardust, this is the main issue I had with the match. This is the first match that Stardust, aka Cody Rhodes, is wrestling on TV since his father, Dusty, had died. Now, the fans, they all wanted to cheer Stardust. I don't get the fact that they brought him back as a heel. It didn't work. The fans were turned off. The fans went dead quiet for a lot of this match. They want to cheer him. Let them cheer him for a little bit. Let him have a semi-face run for a little while. And then a couple months down the road, turn him back heel. Let the fans show him the respect and show him that they love him and that they feel for what he's went through. I don't know. Just to me, it just fell flat. Stardust picked up the win. But I do think that they could have done, the WWE should have booked this much better. They had the perfect opportunity when Neville went to shake his hand and Stardust turned heel right dead and attacked. But anyway, coming from that, our worst match of the night. Wade Barrett, the King, Bad News, whatever you want to call him, versus R-Truth. This feud has felt like it's dragged on and on with no end in sight. R-Truth is winning at every opportunity he can. Wade Barrett is, much like I said with Neville, you can't keep having Barrett lose and expect that one day you're going to put him as an Intercontinental Champion, a U.S. Champion, a World Champion, and him not look bad, because he keeps looking bad. Especially to a guy that's so low on their totem pole as in R-Truth, that they give him silly gimmicks like King, what's up? I don't know, just to me, they could have used both these guys better. I like R-Truth, I'm not dissing him. I like Barrett, I'm not dissing him. I just think this was the same match that we've seen 15 times in the last 3 months. And it's just not working. The feud needs to go on, they need to move on to other people. Maybe Barrett versus Orton and R-Truth versus Sheamus. Rejuvenate those feuds. Now, coming off of that, we're going to go into our question of the week. Before I give you my opinion, here's the opinion of some of our friends. The question of the week from last week was, who is the most underrated talent in the WWE? First up, our friend Christian. The most underrated wrestler, in my opinion, is the All-American Jack Swagger. Great wrestler, former ECW and World Heavyweight Champion. I agree, very underrated wrestler. Next up is from Joseph Hatcher. Dude, I could think of 3 right off the bat, but for me it's either Luke Harper or Tyson Kidd. I think Luke Harper has the potential to be a monster, and Tyson Kidd is an awesome talent. He could be a mid-card to main eventer with the right booking. I think he has the potential to carry on the Hart family legacy along with Natalya. I think he would make a good Intercontinental Champion too. Next up, our friend Dizzlepup. Hey George, I think I can think of a number of wrestlers that are underrated and everyone knows it. Kid, Cesaro, Ryder, Ziggler, etc. But if everyone knows they're underrated, are they still underrated? Or just misused? If that makes any sense. Makes perfect sense, by the way. For that reason, I go with Titus O'Neil. I like to see him build up as a genuinely scary bastard and be a monster that'll fill the void in WWE. Luke Harper and Eric Rowan fall into this category for me too. Talented big men who with the right push and buzz could be unstoppable monster for an up-and-coming face to cut down and get over. Next up from our friend Sonny the Green Orc, the son of the Hall of Famer, the $1 Million Man Jr. is underrated. Next up from Benjamin Me 19. Hey Heel Heat, I think Bo Dallas is the most underrated wrestler at the moment. I know people think his work is not amazing, but the first time I saw him, I immediately thought he was a proper heel, not a cool heel like his brother, but a real old school style heel. I love the way he talks. I like his look. I think with some guidance, maybe from a Stevie Richards, with him right to censor due to their similar gimmicks, and some decent airtime, he could start moving up the card and start a group and become a cowardly heel in the mid card. That's a fantastic suggestion. Stevie Richards, very underrated guy, a guy who I think never really got his due around in any shape or form, but just a great wrestler, and I think he would help. I think Bo Dallas is kind of aiming for what Right to Censor was, kind of trying to hit the same buttons. Now, my opinion on the most underrated wrestler, a lot of you guys touched on a lot of the guys I think are underrated as well, but I'm going to go with Titus O'Neil. I really, really think that Titus O'Neil has the potential to be a world heavyweight champion. I think he's got the charisma, I think he has the athletic ability, and I think he could get the fans behind him. I love what he's doing in the Primetime Players, don't get me wrong, I love them as a team, but I really do think that Titus O'Neil can be a world heavyweight champion, and I think he's a little bit underrated and a lot of underused. Now, coming off of that, our question of the week for next week, a little bit of a spoiler for we're going to talk about later in the show. But of the three NXT divas, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte, who do you think is going to go furthest in the WWE? Let us know what you think. Hit us up on Facebook, hit us up on Twitter, put it down where? Down there in the comments. Make sure you hit like, share, all that good stuff as well. Coming from that, we're going to jump into the positives of the night. First, I'm going to talk about the bookend segments with Lesnar and Heyman and Kane and Seth Rollins, first starting off the show and then ending the show with the contract signing. Normally, I'm not a fan of these kind of signings, but putting Lesnar and Heyman in it makes it a little bit unpredictable. Paul Heyman could talk me out of this t-shirt if he really wanted to. He could sell snow to an Eskimo. He can leech into the fire, basically. When Paul Heyman talks, he sells everything he needs to sell. This was great. The end segment was great with Brock Lesnar pretty much goading Seth Rollins to get the axe handle, and then when he did, he smashed the table into him, and then Brock Lesnar injuring Kane. So now Rollins will have to stand on his own at Battleground against Lesnar, which we all know will probably end up being someone new will join the fray. I honestly think it's going to be a Shield reunion for some reason, some weird reason. I see it working where they've been mentioning the Shield more and more. I think the Shield coming out to help Seth beat Brock Lesnar may actually happen. Now, our next thing that I really liked was New Day, previously mentioned people, the Primetime Players, and Mark Henry. I love this feud that New Day and the Primetime Players are having. I think they're two great tag teams that are really heating up the division. The addition of Mark Henry I thought was really cool. I kind of like it better when the Primetime Players had Neville into these situations, but Mark Henry's just as cool, just I think this is a good fit for him. If you remember last week, we talked about how he's not properly used. I think using him in situations like this, where he doesn't have to work as much, he can hit his spots and get out of the ring for the younger guys to do all the work, really works. Next up is kind of a precursor for another thing we're going to talk later. Rusev versus Cena. We'll get into how Rusev got the match for the U.S. title. One little itty bit of issue I had with this. I thought this was a fantastic match, fantastic psychology. This Monday Night Raw was the first time I've been behind Rusev at all. I haven't liked his character. I haven't liked him, his gimmick, his ring work. Something changed in him and flipped the switch. I don't know if it was the guys he was working with so much, or he's just developed and he's become better. Now, the issue I had is after how he got to the U.S. title match, he became the sympathetic babyface. However, again, this would have been a perfect opportunity to turn Rusev face. However, we have the silly romance gimmick that he's part of. Not taking away from the match, Rusev vs. Cena was a fantastic match. Gets broken up by Kevin Owens, who has said over and over again, if anybody's going to beat Cena for the U.S. title, it's going to be me. Just a great, fantastic match between two wrestlers at the top of their game. Now, coming from that, we're going to go into the promo of the night. And the promo of the night for me started off with the Bella Twins and Alicia Fox. Then Stephanie McMahon comes down to the ring, says that we're ready for a change, we're ready to shake things up, brings out Paige. And then she says Paige can't do it alone. We're introducing Becky Lynch. We're introducing Charlotte to back her up. Then Tamina and Naomi come out, and Stephanie said, oh no, I knew you guys would come out here, and I have someone else that thinks just like you two, Sasha Banks. So, in a 15-minute segment, we're introduced to three new to the main roster characters, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks. We've created three different factions, the Bellas and Fox, Paige, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch, and Tamina, Naomi, and Sasha Banks, that are all going to battle for supremacy in the Divas division. What we seen in that 15-minute segment was the Divas division go from the piss break to the highlight of the show. The infusion of talents as good as Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and Sasha Banks are can do nothing but make this division more credible and better for everybody in it. We already have some great wrestlers. Tamina, Naomi, Paige. The Bella Twins are actually really getting better and better. Alicia Fox is very underrated. Throw in Natalya Neidhart, throw in Emma. We've got some really great women's wrestlers. It is time, the time has come, where the Divas division needs to come out and be more than just one part of the show. It needs to come out and basically stand and be almost equal footing to the men's division. I thought it was awesome. I thought it changed the game. I thought a revolution started. It showed from here out the Divas are important. You're not going to use this as the break you go to get a snack. You're not going to use this as your bathroom break. This is going to be something you're going to have to watch. You have three interesting teams, tons of talent, tons of skill. Easily the promo of the night, segment of the night, everything of the night. The change has arisen, and now from here out we have a launching pad to go from a Divas division to a Divas division and stand alone. And in my opinion, we need to start having the Divas headline Raw, headline SmackDown, headline pay-per-views. The Divas Championship should, actually they should just change it to the Women's Championship, to be perfectly honest, should be something where it's equal footing with the men's. We've seen, and Stephanie mentioned it herself, with the U.S. women's soccer team, which did a great job and won the World Cup. She mentioned Ronda Rousey. She mentioned women's sports is becoming more and more mainstream, and the WWE needs to be ahead of the curve, not trying to catch up. They played catch up for a long time. Now they're at the curve. They're at the curve. Now it's time for them to get ahead of it. Great segment. Rejuvenated everything that I think is great in wrestling happened in that segment. Now we're going into our match of the night. We had the John Cena Open Challenge brings out 3 different men, Rusev, Kevin Owens, and Cesaro. So it's determined the 3 will have a 3-way dance. Winner will face Cena. That's why we see Rusev versus Cena. Fantastic, fantastic match. Again, like I said with Rusev, he impressed me like he's never done before. Owens and Cesaro continue to be the 2 best wrestlers in the WWE at this time, and probably 2 of the top 5 wrestlers in the whole world. Just a fantastic match. Owens bows out of the match early, says he has a match on Sunday. He doesn't need to go this route, which leads to why he came back in the Rusev-Cena match. Cesaro and Rusev carry on and put on a hell of a show. Just a great match from the start to the end. Just fun, exciting, and what wrestling should be. And what the only thing a little bit disappointing is this wasn't the main event, or the Cena-Rusev match wasn't the main event. However, for what they had to do with the show to sell the pay-per-view, I understand why they did what they did, and this was fantastic. Definitely the match of the night. Now, coming from that, we're going to go into our ratings for the week. Now, we have a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. A 1's a Los Matadors, 2's a Heath Slater, 3's an R-Truth, 4's a Randy Orton, and 5 is a Brock Lesnar. I'm giving the show a 5, a Brock Lesnar. Not really much I could complain about. A couple little things I didn't like. For the most part, though, the show was pretty good. Really great things happened. The Divas division, the U.S. Challenge, the opener of the show, the go-home segment on the show. A lot of really good stuff happened. The tag division looked good. There's not a lot that I didn't like about the show, and it was a fantastic episode of Monday Night Raw. But basically, that's all I have to say about that. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Raw Recap.